First Alert new this morning, President Donald Trump's low approval rating remains steady nationwide. That's according to a new Marquette Law School poll. The latest numbers show only 38% of adults approve of the job the president is doing in his second term. That number remains unchanged from the poll conducted in May. The president has the most support from Republicans, with 77% saying he's doing a good job. Just 20% of independents agree, along with 7% of Democrats. The president has had a steady decline in his approval rating since he was inaugurated last year, dropping 10 points from then to now.